If you've ever bought bagged potting soil and wondered why your plants still look miserable a month later, well, me too. Some bagged mixes are loaded with cheap fillers that are terrible for plant growth. Today, I'm gonna share a simple recipe for making your own potting soil at home that is excellent for growing plants, costs way less in the long run, and gives you full control over what's going on in your containers. Plus, it can easily be reused for years, and I'll show you how to do that too. And in case making your own homemade potting soil isn't for you, I'll share a few red flags to look out for at the store if you're shopping for bagged mixes. I need you back, sorry. Before we mix up our own recipe, I want to talk about why some bagged mixes underperform. The first red flag to look out for on your bagged mixes is wood products or bark fines. A lot of the cheaper mixes will bulk up the volume of their potting soil by adding things like fresh wood chips, bark fines, and even ground up pellets. The problem is that fresh or even semi-aged wood products will steal nitrogen actively from the soil, robbing it from your plants. Your plants end up starved of nitrogen, the leaves will start to turn yellow, and you'll be wondering what the heck is going on. And if you do figure out what's going on, you'll have to add more fertilizer to feed your plants. It's just a waste of money and resources. Another thing to watch out for on your bagged mixes is the word compost without a source listed. The word compost means almost nothing without knowing exactly what was composted. For example, manufacturers can list biosolids, which are made from sewage sludge, as compost on their bagged mixes because there's no federal law prohibiting them from doing so. The problem with biosolids in your potting soil, besides the fact that it's gross, is that they've found that there are higher levels of PFAS, which are forever chemicals, heavy metals, and pharmaceuticals, all things you don't want into the plants that will become your food. To avoid biosolids, you're gonna wanna get an organic mix, OMRI listed or USDA certified organic. Prohibit that entirely. And one more red flag to look out for is styrofoam in place of perlite. The little white dots that you often see in good potting mixes are made of perlite or pumice, but sometimes they'll actually use plastic or styrofoam beads. Yes, it does provide some aeration to the roots, but it's also gonna float to the surface every time you water. This really doesn't have a place in potting soils. It's not contributing anything biologically, so I would stay away from it. So if you want to avoid the unknown of what may or may not be in your bagged potting soil, why not learn to make your own? So let me share our simple recipe for a potting soil mix that can grow almost anything. First up is peat moss at 30%. Peat moss is your foundation. It's lightweight and most importantly holds moisture without becoming too waterlogged. It also breaks down super slowly so it won't collapse on your roots the way cheap fillers do. There are some downsides. Peat is pretty acidic and it's harvested from bogs, so if sustainability is a concern for you, coco coir is a solid one-to-one substitute here and is an arguably more renewable byproduct of coconut processing, but like anything, coco coir also has its drawbacks. The second ingredient is compost at another 30%, so a one-to-one ratio with the peat moss. Adding compost makes this potting soil biologically active right from the start. Good quality finished compost brings a wide range of slow-release nutrients and infuses the otherwise sterile mix with beneficial microorganisms. Homemade compost with a diverse range of ingredients is ideal. Just make sure your compost is fully done. Dark, crumbly, earthy smelling, no recognizable food scraps remaining. If you're buying compost rather than making your own, look for OMRI organic listed products and check the label for a clear description of what was actually composted for some peace of mind. The third ingredient is perlite at 15%, so about half as much as the first two. Perlite is volcanic glass that's been expanded through heating. It doesn't compact, it doesn't break down, so it's a permanent aeration ingredient that helps roots breathe and allows excess water to drain away freely. Healthy roots need oxygen, and perlite makes sure they get it. For a nice natural alternative, pumice is a great option that you can substitute at 1-to-1 ratio. Our fourth ingredient is vermiculite at another 15%. Vermiculite works a little bit differently from perlite in that it holds on to moisture and nutrients between waterings and releases them slowly to the roots. So together with perlite, these two strike a great balance between drainage and retention. And the final ingredient is optional, but I like to add it because we have our own fire pit outside, and that is biochar at about 10%. Biochar is essentially the blackened remnants after burning hardwood. It's basically pure carbon and is incredibly porous at a microscopic level, which means it becomes a great habitat for beneficial microbes to colonize. It also helps hold on to nutrients and improves long-term soil structure, and it won't break down like compost, meaning it's another permanent upgrade to the mix. So that's the basic recipe, but there are a couple other optional additions I want to mention that can make your potting soil a little bit more effective right from day one. Since peat moss is fairly acidic, lime can bring up the pH slightly, and it adds some calcium and magnesium. But I've also made some batches without lime that have performed perfectly well from the start, so it's definitely optional. And the second optional extra is forest soil. If you live near a forest or any undisturbed woodland, grab a few handfuls of the top layer of soil, specifically that dark, crumbly stuff just beneath the leaf litter. Forest soil is full of mycorrhizal fungi and beneficial bacteria and a whole host of microorganisms that can benefit your soil and help break down nutrients from things like compost and make them available to your plants. Compost adds good biology to the mix, but forest soil can introduce local microorganisms that are adapted to your specific region, so this is definitely worth adding, especially if your compost is coming from a store-bought bag. You don't need much, just 2 or 3 good handfuls into each large batch of potting soil are good enough. You're not using it as a structural ingredient like the biochar and the perlite, but rather as a biological starter. Okay, so now it's time to mix the soil. I like to use a wheelbarrow, or for bigger batches, a tarp. Mix everything with a shovel, adding water as you go to pre-moisten the mix. This is really important. Peat moss needs to be pre-moistened or it can actually repel water later on. I also recommend wearing a mask, which I'm clearly not doing here, but dry peat moss is not something you want to inhale. So keep adding water while mixing until it has the moisture level of about a wrung out sponge. So here's the final product. This recipe makes an excellent physical growing medium for growing plants, but it's not inherently loaded with nutrients. And that's actually intentional. We want full control over what's going on in our containers, but for adding those nutrients to your plants and making sure that they're going to grow strong throughout the season, we have 3 good options. Number 1 is actually the compost that's in this recipe. That's going to add some good slow release nutrition to the soil. It also adds those beneficial bacteria and microbes to the soil to help break down natural ingredients into good usable nutrients. But compost alone might not be quite enough for those hungry veggies that you're growing, like tomatoes or squash. So for that, you might want to add one of the other options. A good slow release organic fertilizer is a great solution for adding nutrients. You can just add it in and mix it before you transplant your plants in. Look for organic options that have things like feather meal, bone meal, blood meal, kelp. Things like that are all great slow release additions to your soil. If you do take this route, I definitely recommend adding that forest soil to your potting mix recipe, especially if you didn't make your own compost, because again, it's going to add those beneficial bacteria and that whole host of microorganisms that will help break down that slow release fertilizer into plant available nutrients. And the third option for adding nutrition to this mix is using a liquid fertilizer on a schedule. This gives you the most control, but it's also the most demanding from you. Liquid nutrients need to be added at least every week or so, sometimes with every single watering, depending on what you're growing. But it might be worth it because some of my favorite fertilizers are fish and seaweed-based fertilizers. I've had great results using them to grow all sorts of different vegetables, but also liquid all-purpose fertilizer is just really effective. But again, it's really a balance between your time commitment and the results you want to see. The most important thing really is to have a plan from the start before you pot up your plants. Know how you're going to be feeding them throughout the year. For me, I like to use a mixture of everything. We've got compost, we've got slow release organic fertilizer, and I like to use that fish and seaweed based fertilizer throughout the year, just because I'm in the garden so often. But figure out what's actually going to work best for you before you get started. I mentioned that it's easy to reuse your homemade potting mix, and we actually reuse our bagged potting soils and our homemade mixes for 4 or 5 years at a minimum, and it literally couldn't be easier. For some planters like this one here, we literally leave the soil in place, add a cup or 2 of slow release organic fertilizer, mix it into the first few inches, and that's it. We usually grow things like coleus and other flowering ornamental plants in this container. For hungrier vegetables, you may notice that the soil shrinks a little more after a year. That compost is going to break down and get used up by the plants, so you might need to top it off with some added ingredients. Compost is a great one to use just as a rebulking agent, and you might also need to feed those hungrier vegetables more throughout the season with a liquid fertilizer or something like that. But really, the structure of your soil isn't changing all that much. It's just going to need a little bit of revamping every season. If you want to learn more about the specifics of how we reuse potting soil, we have a dedicated video on this channel detailing that entire process from start to finish. So a quick recap of our soil recipe here: 30% peat moss, 30% compost, 15% perlite, 15% vermiculite, and 10% biochar, with some optional extras if you're so inclined. But after trialing many different homemade recipes, this is our favorite. It lasts for a really long time. It grows incredibly healthy plants, and you know exactly what's in it. If you found this helpful, leave a comment with what you're growing this season in your containers. And I don't say this enough, but thank you for watching this channel. It means a lot to us. You're really helping to make our lives happier and more enjoyable, so we really appreciate that. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.